North Korea says it successfully tested a hydrogen bomb. Suspicion was raised by an artificial magnitude 5.1 earthquake detected near Pyongyang, the site of past nuclear tests. South Korea says the North must be punished for its action. China says it firmly opposes the nuclear test, which is North Korea's fourth since 2006. A hydrogen bomb is more powerful than the nuclear weapons North Korea has tested before.
The first H-bomb test was successfully conducted at 10 a.m. on January the 6th, 2016. We will not give up a nuclear program as long as the United States maintains its stance of aggression.
China has urged North Korea to keep its promise to halt its nuclear program. Beijing has been North Korea's closest ally at the UN Security Council. For more on this, let's go to Tito Patronobis, who's on the phone in Beijing. It seems strange that North Korea would want to antagonize its staunch ally in China. How angry is Beijing about this?
So Beijing has been using very strong language since this morning, soon after the news of the new test became public, and it has not only firmly opposed the test, but has also said that has urged DPRK to honor its commitment to denuclearization, and it's a repeat of something that happened with during the last test which North Korea carried out way back in 2013. When leaders in Beijing had the Communist Party and the leaders had got together to use very strong language to condemn the test. But as it turns out, it hasn't deterred North Korea from carrying out the fourth one within about 3 years.
So, Tito, the UN Security Council is meeting later in New York. Do you think that Beijing is likely to change its stance on North Korea, given these events?
China remains the only official ally of North Korea. So, and it sort of showers North Korea with aid in various ways. So it's going to be a tightrope walk for the leaders in Beijing to condemn North Korea as well as support what the UN is saying and the sanctions that the UN has put in place against North Korea. It remains to be seen in the next couple of days how Beijing balances the two and at the same time, ensures that the condemnation, the worldwide condemnation that North Korea has been subjected to, is also carried out.
Tito Patronobis in Beijing, thank you. Well, other countries have spoken of their outrage at the nuclear test by Pyongyang. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was quick to criticise.
North Korea's nuclear test is a serious threat to our nation's security and absolutely cannot be tolerated. Japan will take a firm response on this, including at the UN Security Council, in cooperation with the United States, South Korea, China, and Russia.
South Korean President Park Geun-hye says the test needs more analysis, but denounced it as a violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
Our government has to take decisive measures against any additional provocations by North Korea and work with the international community to make sure the isolated country pays the price for its latest nuclear test.
Go now to Shane Ham live in Seoul. Shane, we just heard the president of South Korea there launching a fairly scathing attack on what's happened. What has been the reaction there in Seoul where you are?
Well, so far, government officials and the military are taking a staunch response. They're on heightened military alert as of this moment, and no unusual movements detected across the border. But the latest information we're getting here is that intelligence officials here in South Korea believe the blast that was triggered in North Korea was projected to be about a 6-kiloton blast, causing somewhere between a 4.8 and a 5.2 tremor. And that means, compared to North Korea's latest nuclear test back in 2013, it's actually smaller in magnitude. So there's a lot of skepticism growing whether North Korea was actually able to detonate a full-on hydrogen bomb. Some experts say that maybe they used their past atomic bomb and infused it with a hydrogen isotope, and they're claiming that they have the capability to use this hydrogen bomb, something that the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un claimed back in December. But tests will undoubtedly be made to see whether North Korea does have this capability. And if they do, in fact, then it means there's a lot of progress on that part. And nations that are affected by this will more than likely convene to try and get to the bottom of this, to try and rein North Korea in.
So, Shane, what happens going forward from this point? I guess it's pretty uncharted territory.
Right. So the United Nations is scheduled to meet at 1600 GMT. Behind closed doors. We don't know what the agenda will be. But based on precedents in the past, North Korea's past nuclear tests, we've seen sanctions against the state for its nuclear and missiles program, but that hasn't really stopped North Korea from conducting these tests. A big variable in this will be China, obviously, because China, one of North Korea's staunchest and one of its last major allies, China's come out very strongly against this. They were never forewarned about this test today. So China's also reportedly going to summon its North Korean ambassador in Beijing to launch a formal protest. But in terms of the reaction here, the six-party talks has been the main avenue to kind of come to deal with North Korea's nuclear program, but that hasn't convened in several years now.
Shane Ham in Seoul, thank you. Well, this is North Korea's fourth nuclear test at the Pyongyang site in the last decade. The last nuclear test was in 2013 when Pyongyang tested what it described as a miniaturized and lighter nuclear device. In 2009, North Korea carried out its second underground nuclear test, 1 month after walking out of international talks on its nuclear program. And in 2006, it tested its first atomic device, which prompted the UN Security Council to impose sanctions against North Korea.